Hi, folks. Yes, I was just about to tell Jeff something about my personal life. Anyhow, so
Oh yeah, by all means, tell the world about your personal life.
right, so we are reviewing the episode in the title, and I'll let Jeff say it.
Why don't you say it this time, Ben?
Can I say it in the Orat voice?
Okay.
I'll try and do it. Sniper.
Sniper? I hardly knew her.
There we go.
See, I knew Ben was looking forward to that, so I had to let him set me up.
Right, yeah.
So,
Very good.
otherwise, it doesn't work. Okay, so Sniper was originally aired January 5th, 1996 on NBC. And it was written by...
Oh, I'll put it up. Sorry, folks. Sorry, Jeff. I'll be on the ball, and I'll wait a minute. Terry played by Gene Gennis and Phyllis Murphy. Story by Henry Brummel and Tom Fontana. It's almost there.
And directed by Jean
Ta-da!
Desconza.
So, no RoboCop this time.
No RoboCop this time, yes. But we did get Jay Leno.
Yes, we did. But it's not really lit well enough to use as a thumbnail. But,
yeah. That was our opening scene. We had Jay Leno in his motorcycle jacket.
He is a huge motorhead, yep. Jay Leno. He owns so many cars.
Yep. So yeah, that was a funny little scene at the beginning where Munch and Bayless are tending the bar, and Jay Leno comes in, and they think, well, he doesn't want to be bothered, so we won't talk to him. And Jay wants to talk, and no one will, so he doesn't stay long.
I tell you, Munch is such an ENTP. That is so socially clumsy that he cannot see that he wants to talk to him.
Yeah. And Bayless just kind of follows his lead, and probably was itching to talk to Leno, but was trying to respect him, like Munch was talking about.
They could have made that scene funnier.
So Leno gets, the funny line at the end saying something like, "Yeah, hard to believe this bar is empty."
Oh, I didn't quite hear it like that. That was a better line than what I heard. But my hearing is faulty.
Yeah, that's what he said. I don't know the exact words. It was something to that effect, like it's not hard to see why this bar is empty or something like that. So J.H. Brody, recently hired by Giardello to shoot films of crime scenes, is filming everyone and everything in the precinct, getting a little on the detective's nerves. Bayless is contemplating invasive back surgery for his aching back, but for now he can be seen popping muscle relaxants. Then Bayless gets a call as we have 2 dead bodies and another in the hospital. And it appears the detectives are looking for a marksman, as 2 of the 3 victims were shot right in the heart. The detectives find something odd atop a roof where the marksman could have shot 3 people. A game of Hangman is found with a couple of letters filled in. Hamilton mentions that it takes 2 people to play a game of Hangman, which will come into play later on. Anyway, the whole squad arrives on another scene with 2 more dead bodies. The detectives realize they are dealing with a serial killer / sniper when they find that these 2 victims are also shot in the heart. Something else that is eerily similar to the first scene is a game of Hangman, with a few letters filled in on another 9-letter word. Barnfather is feeling heat from the mayor, so he lies in a TV appearance, saying that the detectives are close to making an arrest. Soon after a false alarm where some kids drew a game of Hangman on a wall, another round of shootings takes place. This time 4 are left dead. The handwriting expert is called in to help analyze and compare the games of Hangman left at the scenes with other writings. The expert eventually finds a match to a check, and the detectives head to the home of William Mariner, where the suspected shooter is locked in his den. Mariner tells Bayless to guess a letter. On the second try, Bayless guesses correctly, and a gunshot is heard. The detectives bust down the door to the den and find Mariner's body and games of Hangman covering all four walls of the room. The detectives have caught the sniper and head home to relax after some hard work. Because Mariner took his own life, Barnfather is not pleased. He goes on to demote Russert, first to lieutenant and then back to detective. Russert heads home to her children and turns on the news to see that more sniper shootings have taken place. There's a little recap.
I think I might have worked out what's happening. So there's two snipers, and maybe one shoots the one that loses a certain go.
We will find out in the next episode whether you're right. But in the meantime,
because then it's the same, because it is the same gun that's being used.
So, you want to hear what Mr. Morris wants to say about this?
Of course I do.
Okay. All right. So, he said, as I mentioned when I began writing this study of homicide, Sniper is the episode that helped make me a homicidal maniac, end quotes. Watching the detectives try to stop a sniper who punctuated his killing people by playing a demented version of Hangman reeled me in and gradually made me full-fledged convert to the Church of Tom Fontana and all his works, great and small. Seeing the episode a second time with more than 8 years of perspective and wisdom, however, has caused me to reevaluate my overall opinion of this episode. There's no question that it's one of the most cinematic and well-edited episodes of the fourth season. The story is typical of later homicides, namely involving a predictable crisis story. The killer is murdering innocent people. The victims have absolutely nothing in common with each other, except, as Pembleton Riley points out, they're all dead. Which Munch, of course, responded and calling him Mr. Literal, or you're a literal man, something like that.
Yep.
And the killer follows a pattern of striking over and over again, causing the detectives to constantly reevaluate their original theory of the crime. Furthermore, the episode has the most elaborate ticking clock, with the killer striking in 8-hour intervals. This all makes for a great deal of tension, and the suspense and pace is exceptionally well done, but it doesn't have the realism of the show's first few seasons. There are, however, several elements of the show that make it more intriguing and interesting than the average episode. For one thing, there is the pure and utter absurdity of what is happening.
Jeff,
the gunman.
Jeff,
yes.
Is his review long enough that I'll be able to pop and get myself some food and then come back? Is there another 2 minutes worth of review?
Maybe.
Right. I'll be quick if you continue.
You're still able to listen while you're doing that?
Yeah, okay. I will switch to my mobile headphones and I'll be very quick. But, right, here we go. Right, go on, continue, please.
Okay, so the gunman turns out to be a 40-year-old accountant, husband, and father of 3, lives in the suburbs, who for some reason snaps and starts killing completely innocent victims as part of a game of Hangman that he is playing with himself. It is not until the episode's conclusion that we learn what the word in question is, E08 Lab, or Baltimore backwards. While this serves as an explanation for the events, it's not an answer that is going to make any sense at all to any of the detectives, which I guess is the point. Anyone who goes this far over the edge isn't going to make sense to the average man on the street. Another strength of this episode is the brilliant work of Kyle Secor. Under the strain of a red ball investigation that keeps getting more and more complicated, popping painkillers for his still aching back, Bayless is under more pressure than he has been for a very long time. Furthermore, when the squad finally tracks down the killer, Bayless is in the house trying to negotiate with him, only to be forced to stand helplessly by as the killer finishes his game and blows his brains out. Yet none of this overwhelms him, and he manages to work through it. This episode, more than any other this season, shows how much Bayless has grown as a policeman, and Secor is up to the task. Another key part of this episode is the way that the bosses handle the crisis. Captain Russert is put under the harsh glow of the spotlight as Colonel Barnfather leaves her to squirm under the pressures of being involved in a red ball. Russert remains fundamentally loyal to her troops, but at a really severe cost. When the sniper commits suicide, she gets most of the blame for allowing it to happen. As a result of this, Russert gets demoted all the way back down to detective. While this doesn't seem outside the realms of possibility for how the brass handle the ones who screw up, in retrospect, it seems more like a desperate attempt to find something for Russert to do. After her demotion, she finds herself drifting back towards, you guessed it, homicide. Even now, Russard wouldn't be given a requisite amount of work, and her character would disappear from show. Okay, that's a little bit of spoiler. Anyway, and of course, there's the problem that just as soon as we think that we are finally done with the case, bang, the last 30 seconds announced that 3 more victims have been shot and the case must go on. At the time, I found this very intense. Now I find it really stretching the credibility of the show, especially considering, well, that's another spoiler I won't read. Okay, so now I'm of two minds about part 1 of Sniper. On one hand, I find it very cinematic, well directed, and for the most part, very well acted. On the other hand, the spotlight is focused so intensely on Secor, Brower, and Isabella Hoffman that the other characters are almost shut out. It would have been especially interesting to see the reactions of Howard and Munch, who only a year earlier were involved in a similar shooting. The writers will briefly touch on this in the next episode. Furthermore, a lot of the dark comedy that the series usually provides in this one is somewhat in poor taste, particularly in the incident involving the suspects involved in another game of Hangman that turns out to be a false lead. And the crisis is predictable, bordering on formulaic. There is one unique thing about this episode. At the beginning, for the first and only time in the show's history, is the board completely empty. In this way, it serves as a reminder of the clean slate that the writers of Homicide would be creating for the viewer who, like me, were joining the show for the first time and therefore didn't know what they had missed. Some of what they did would be brilliant, some terrible, but a good deal, like this episode, would be closer to the middle, disappointing for a show that was truly excellent in its first 3 seasons. My score, 7.5. So, are you back, Ben? I can't hear you.
Yeah, that comment about starting with a clean slate makes me think, is Mr. Morris an NF? Because
I don't know.
What of that? Yes, it's a new board. So what? It's not some metaphor for life.
So anyway, what are your thoughts on this episode, Ben?
My thoughts on this episode. Yes, Carl Secor was good. There was nothing in it that made me drop any points. It was interesting. It wasn't obvious. It was a procedural. I think only the opening scene could have been better.
Have you got photos to show us?
Yes, I have photos. That's my only purpose. My main purpose. The main purpose of me. But I might make her the thumbnail.
That would be quite random.
Oh, there's nothing random. Right. So yeah, Mr. Leno, looking remarkably young. But if you want to see him looking amazingly young, if you watch the film Silver Bears, when I think he's in like his 20s, then he looks kind of weird looking in that. But Silver Bears, 1970s film, I think. Yeah, 1996. There we go.
Yeah, there's that empty board that he was talking about.
Yeah, like BFD.
And they don't actually mention it in this episode, but the good thing for Bayless is that from being the one who gets all of these bodies under his name, when he closes the case,
yeah,
I mean, he's got more closed cases under his name than some of the detectives get in 6 months.
Well, do they is there a prize at the end of the year for the most solved cases?
Yeah, I don't think so, but you definitely, your prize is that G doesn't yell at you. So that's
so okay.
So Bayless probably at the end of this has moved up in standing within the department for that.
So just a little hint. Like, who's this?
Max Perlich is Brody.
Is that the guy at the end with grey hair?
No, that's the camera dude.
Oh God!
How many times do I got to say his name before you remember who he is?
Oh right. Okay. What about
right there on the left? That's Brody.
What? And he gets billing like this? Flipping heck. What about these two?
I don't know. Carolyn McCormick. Oh, that might be the wife of the sniper.
Yeah, she was quite good. She was quite.
Yeah.
Has she done other things?
Well, yeah. If you continue the rest of these,
Okay.
because I know the actress who played the wife. Yeah, she played Dr. Olivet on Law and Order, the psychiatrist, like the district attorney used. Clayton LeBoeuf, or how do you say that? That's Colonel Barnfather.
Yep.
Gary Diodario is the real G.
Right, the guy at the end. He's the guy. He's the guy.
He's the Q.
Yeah.
Plays the QRT guy, Jasper. Harry A. Winter, I'm not sure who that is.
I think I've got a photo of that guy. I'm just there he is. The real G.
Yeah. Yes, that's D, as they call him. D was changed to G for the TV show.
Do you think he's in the STJ in real life?
Probably.
Because he's got a lot of. Let's just say he's got a lot of power, a lot of authority coming out of those eyes.
Yeah, and some, like in the book, the interplay, like some of the lines that Pimbleton says to G, some of those are right out of the book and things that people said to D in real life. Like whenever Pimbleton says "my esteemed lieutenant," that's a thing that they say to him and stuff in the book.
Any information on these two people? That
No, I'm really not sure, and I don't even remember if they wrote further teleplays. I don't even remember if they're the ones who wrote the next episode. So we'll find out, I guess, when we get to that.
So we've got the initial 3 shootings. So the fact that they start with 003, well, what happened to the 1
Once
and 2?
again, the great detail of Homicide, because this is the day shift, so that tells you that two people got killed overnight between midnight and 6 or whenever they come in.
Is that on the other side of the board?
Yeah, it's on the other side of the board, right. So somebody like, Gaffney's not in that department anymore, but somebody like Higby or Stepopoulos or Shabazz, those night tour guys, one of them probably took 1 or 2 of those first murders that happened overnight on New Year's Eve of '96. Or I guess technically New Year's Day, but after midnight.
Look at that. She's dotted the I in uppercase. I'm not necessarily against that. Right.
So yeah, once again, showing the detail that they would go with when they were being realistic with stuff on Homicide, that somebody figured they might have had Bayless get case number 1, and then somebody said, hey, wait a minute, this is the day shift. What about somebody who got killed in the night? So they decided there had been 2 people killed overnight, and that this case was 3, 4, and 5. So
What I was thinking here is, would Kay really put nail polish on?
yeah, I could see it. Not necessarily every day, but from time to time. And she might just have. You talked about that you weren't that interested in her love life, but it's been established she has one, so she may have. That may be for outside of the work activities.
I think a little tip to our female viewers: nail polish, not really high on our list.
Who's our?
Well, would you like nail polish, Jeff?
Sometimes, if it looks good. I don't like fake nail extensions, but sometimes nail polish itself can look.
Yeah, not nail extensions. That's more of a turn off than a turn on.
Yeah, but like colored nails, that can sometimes look good depending on how they're painted.
Yeah, marvelous. Nice hair is better than nice nails. Right.
In general, I would agree with that. So yeah, there you had like the junior high girl that Ben apparently likes and wants to put in the thumbnail.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, I think I've got her. Maybe junior high. Come off it.
Like 13.
13. Come off it.
15 at the oldest.
Yeah, and how old is she now?
Huh?
Right.
20 years older.
Yeah. This guy does look like. Well, for a start, his suits. Maybe the 90s fashion, but come on, get a suit that fits.
He's too skinny. They couldn't find one that fit him.
What about a tailor?
They don't have the budget for that, Ben. Remember, he talks about how funds are tight. You know, he's not a hypocrite. He keeps his own funds low as well.
Right. Yeah, that was a bit. Oh yes, about demoting her. Where the only reason I could see him doing it is that he was really pissed off that she did this 0800 number thing.
Yeah, there were several things where he felt undermined by her, but it did. I agree with Mr. Morrison that it did seem a little contrived, and the reason for that, of course, is all the behind the scenes stuff, which is the network dictating that a female character was added in the first place. So the Homicide writers create a female character to try to placate the network, but then the network says, but you're not featuring her enough. So then they try to do that, and then they're like, basically, it doesn't make sense. They promote her to try to give her, okay, well, now she's going to be G's boss, and that'll give us some opportunities. And then the network is like, yeah, but now you blah, 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 blah. You know, they kept on trying to mess with it. So they say, well, what way to have her, in the action, better way to have her in the action, to devote her to detective, and then she has to be in every episode.
Yeah, because it's like the audience is more interested in solving crimes than seeing bickering between G and her, and plus it's already established that they're not really bickering with each other, so most scenes between those two are going to be boring. Yeah,
so... In fact, they've had more interesting bickering between Lewis and Howard in the last few episodes than they have with those. So yeah.
Any of these names stick out?
Yes. Herb Levinson again, who may or may not be related to Barry Levinson.
Right. Who is Lusan? Who is this person?
I don't know. I'm guessing that it was probably one of the cops. I know I've seen Herb Levinson's name pop up in the cast before, so it's possible that he plays one of the uniform cops.
Yeah, what's going on here? I mean, are these real people? Why do these get big letters?
Yeah, I'm guessing so. I'm guessing that those are actually real officers and reporters, and that's why they're listed separately.
Yeah, they've got massive letters.
Yeah, I know Rhonda Overby is. That's the one that she's the one that appeared. I guess she didn't have a picture of that one, but she holds up the picture of the sniper when they have the picture of what they think he looks like or whatever. Anyway, so
I accidentally played the start of the previous episode, and it was sort of set up about his brother. Like he mentioned him in the early scenes.
Yeah. I mean, it's designed to basically, the twist is that all along, like when he said his brother was in the back, it really was his brother. And it's designed to make you think that, like he's killed somebody and put him in the back, but everything is kind of a bluff, that way. That's obviously the idea. And rewatching it, you said something about it not having rewatch value, but I kind of think it does.
I think that probably does. That probably does, yeah.
Because when you watch it from the perspective now of knowing there's sort of this added level of dramatic irony to it where when he's telling the truth and when he isn't, that it's really not G's daughter, but it's sort of like you can sort of enjoy the perspective of somebody who doesn't know these things.
Yeah, so we just let the audience, although they probably know what dramatic irony means through the example. Giraffe go. Right. So yeah, so dramatic irony is the opposite of suspense in that it's dread. So for instance, it's like when you know, or the opposite of surprise, when you know someone's laying in wait to kill someone, and then you connect with the person. So it's a way of getting more emotional connection.
Yeah, so in like
Dramatic irony.
in melodrama, you know, it's the basic premise, you know, where the audience knows everything, but the hero or heroine is, you know, is clueless as to what's about to happen to them, but the audience knows, and you know, and sometimes, you know, we'll yell at them to, you know, don't open that door and things like that.
And it's usually better than cheap surprise, and you get more of a connection with that.
Yeah, I can like either one. You know, I think
Yeah.
there's a great deal of fun in that kind of presentation, but for, you know, I also like mysteries as well. So I like it when the audience doesn't know either. I like when there's, you know,
you can mix it up. You can use both techniques.
I do kind of like the whodunit aspect of thing, and the funny thing is that soap operas actually sometimes have some of the best murder mysteries because of the way that soap operas have this already sort of, everybody's lives are interwoven with each other in this way that probably isn't that realistic, but when it comes to this, makes it for a good murder mystery because you can have so many people that have motives to kill the same person.
As long as the writers play by the rules and don't change the ending, which...
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously they'll stretch those things as far as they can, but yeah, there's a certain amount of trust that the audience is putting in them that you're not going to... for instance, All My Children did one in 1992 for the Will Cortland murder, and they would have promos for it saying, like, you know, here's your suspects, and they featured everybody. If it had turned out to be somebody who wasn't featured in the suspect list, that would have been, you know, not as satisfying to the audience, I think. But as it turns out, it was somebody on that list. So they allowed the audience to kind of play along and not, you know,
Right.
and guess which one it was, as opposed to suddenly saying, oh, no, it's really this other character you haven't met before.
Right. Because I remember what they did on Brookside is they had this female character drug raped, and I remembered the looks of the guys, and it turned out to be somebody who wasn't the guy that went in the room, and it was like, come on, I saw it.
Yeah, and so in Thrill of the Kill, you know, they don't... That you could say they do that, but in a sense they don't really, because they do introduce the character of the brother. You just don't see him, at least not all the time. You might see him because they look alike, but then they, you know, they make it so that, and like, you can't say, well, they just introduced this character out of nowhere, because you can see the evidence of the existence of the character before that. And of course, the first, you know, the real introduction of that is when he says, didn't you wonder why both doors of the car were open?
I tell you what, I'll change my mind on that one. That probably has a tremendous amount of rewatch value. That one, because you'd be looking for like continuity errors and stuff in the way it's shot.
Yeah, it's fun. You know, it's fun. It's a fun episode, and I think this sniper episode is too. And I think I can sense that in that review, because he's seen the next one, he probably would have, you know, he's saying, of course, when he saw it initially, how much he liked it. And in retrospect, he's lowering the score. But I think if he really looked at this episode individually, he probably would rate it higher. But he's projecting that he's disappointed in how it ends in the next episode.
Right.
And I can say that I am somewhat also. But I will say that, like I said earlier, there is a good kind of showcase for Russert, though. She gets an opportunity to be actually useful, and that part's good. So there are some good parts in it for sure. It's just, yeah, it is a little bit of a letdown after this one. But this one alone, personally, I give it an 8 out of 10 myself, because I think it's quite enjoyable, and it's like he said, well paced and edited, and there's, you know, I personally, I kind of liked the you know, they find a game of Hangman at a school. My first thought when I saw that was, well, it probably was kids playing on the playground, you know. And so when they have oh, we've apprehended suspects, and then Pendleton and Munch bring the kids over, then I kind of liked that little moment, kind of breaking up the
Now,
tension of stuff.
if that was on HBO, like, you might have like the second letter U and the final letter K.
Anyway, the thing about that was it worked effectively, as to me often does in Homicide, where it's sort of comic relief, but at the same time it serves to further infuriate Barnfather towards Russert for taking this seriously. And of course the reality of it is that he's taking it just as seriously, but he's got her as a scapegoat, where whatever goes wrong, he can blame it on her.
Well, why was he pissed that the one of the shooters took his own life?
Yeah, I mean, really, the answer is because they want to be able to say we apprehended the guy and we're going to prosecute him, and he's going to get the punishment from us as opposed to him taking his own life. People are.
Yeah, but they did though. Yeah, but you can easily say he did it because we had him surrounded.
Well, right. It's just people are less satisfied by that because they feel they want, the people that want a certain measure of justice or revenge, whatever you want to call it, and they don't get the satisfaction when somebody shoots themselves. That's just the reality of it. But yeah, it just goes to show in Barnfather's case where it's all about the image and the PR. I mean, he says that from the beginning, basically, when they have the press conference. He's not he shows no caring about the victims' families or anything like that. Everything is about how he's looking. So
yeah, they need another detective anyway, because they got two of them are on extended leave.
Right.
Bolander and Felton.
Yeah.
And do they remain on their extended leave, Jeff, throughout the rest of the series?
Well, I'm not going to answer that because that would spoil future occurrences.
Marvelous.
I will say that their impact on the show is definitely not over.
Well, they could always have some shows set in the past where they give. Maybe they could have some flashback episodes.
You'll see. You'll see. There's more to come about those two. They have not been forgotten.
Very good.
May not necessarily be mentioned in every episode, but
yeah, I like Felton, except when it's stories about his love life.
Yeah, well, there's definitely try to say this in the way that doesn't spoil anything, but there will be more Felton things to come. I'll just leave it at that.
It's just that having these characters have love lives, it's not what the audience want. It might be what the fans want, but it's not what the audience wants. The main audience that's there for the procedural.
I think you might have that backwards, actually. The audience that's just sort of a casual audience might want that, but the hardcore fans, not as much, usually.
Oh. It's just that when it's like a continuing storyline, it's like, if people want that, watch a soap.
Well, Ben, that, there are us feelers out there that, we like some relationships, not everything has to be just the facts, ma'am.
Well, I like that, like, if you got like a proper drama, but,
Yeah, well, there definitely are some more relationships to come, some of which are more believable than others, but we'll see as we get to that. So, anyway, what would you rate Sniper?
Oh, I'll give it a 7.
7. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I personally, I can't remember. I'm sure I probably did watch it the first time. I mean, when it first aired. But I don't remember having a particularly different point of view when I rewatched it. I enjoyed probably about the same things I enjoyed the first time, I'm guessing. It had plenty of suspense and excitement, and it did leave me wondering at the end, kind of given wow, what's going on?
Oh,
Because at first I saw the guy going up to the tower, and I thought maybe it was sort of trying to be like a flashback, and then I sort of realized, oh no, they're saying that there's a different person that's doing this. So
yeah, I got a picture of Carolyn McCormick right here.
yeah, that's definitely she plays Dr. Olivet on Law and Order, which I don't think that she was in any of the crossover Law and Order episodes of Homicide. I can't remember for sure, but I don't think she was. So she just appeared on Homicide as a different character.
So have we had those crossover episodes yet?
No, we've got one coming up really soon, though. So yeah, it'll be. I think only 2 more episodes until the first one.
So where is Law and Order set?
New York City.
Which is not exactly next door to Baltimore.
No, but once you get up in the Northeast, things are a lot closer together than they are down here in Texas.
Yeah, that's right. As you said before, you can drive for about
Yeah,
800 miles and still be in Texas.
There's references to people taking the train between New York and Baltimore, as opposed to having to fly. Although the rich people still fly, but yeah.
Although in future, have you heard of Skytran?
No.
Well, this new thing, which is actually quite clever, where you actually have like cables in the sky. So it's like those old, and so what it means is you don't have to knock anything down in order to have like your personalized transport very quick.
All right, so real quick, because we always like to highlight those little personality things in the characters, and you mentioned once again Munch being so ENTP,
Yeah.
and as I mentioned, there was a little exchange between him and Pembleton, where Munch says the victims have nothing in common, and Pembleton says, well, they're all dead, and he says, you're a literal man, Frank. And I related to that because, of course, people have said that about me. So, and actually, somebody once sent me something. It was always like the things, to me that I like the best are things that are like spontaneous personal moments. When I make an impact on someone personally, and so somebody sent me something because they saw a picture. And I'm not going to remember the exact words because I haven't seen it in a while. But it was basically something to the effect of it said, whenever someone says that something is impossible, I think what you're really saying is, in your narrow view of the world, this particular activity seems improbable, or something like that. I don't know, it was something like that. And the person said that they thought of me when they saw it because of how I would kind of jump on anybody who kind of said something that was not literally true, that kind of exaggerated or spoke in that kind of metaphorical way about something. So,
and in fact, there's a technical term for that, folks. They call that mistake a modal operator of necessity, where people generalize in silly ways where they'll go, that's impossible.
Yeah.
Or everyone does this, or everyone does that, or that will never happen. Things
and
like
I admit that I do that myself sometimes. I think a lot less than plenty of other people, including some of my coworkers that I was discussing earlier when we weren't recording. I will say some pretty outlandish things sometimes, like this such and such doesn't do anything but blah, and it's like that's kind of absurd to say.
But in general, Jeff, like in case they're watching, you're telling me what a fine bunch of people they are.
Yes, because if they weren't, I would have thrown myself off a bridge by now. So.
So yeah,
because it's all about the people, and I couldn't stand to continue working so long in an environment if the people were that bad. So obviously they have. All right.
So we'll leave on that positive note.
Okay. So join us next time, folks, for Sniper Part 2.
Oh, you never told me it was Sniper Part 1. You just said Sniper.
Well, yeah.
You withheld that little fact.
I had to keep you in suspense. Because if I said Sniper Part 1, then you'd be like, oh, I'm expecting something to happen at the end of this episode.
Very
and
good.
Instead, you figured it was all wrapped up, just like they wanted you to think.
That's good. I'll give Jeff a point for that.
Woohoo!
That's good. That's very good of you, Jeff. Now, and we will end.
All right, bye-bye.